Hello everyone, I'm Ankit and you're watching the Indian Express analysis. Today is 14th of June and we are going to discuss important news and articles from the Indian Express newspaper. Now upon reading the newspaper, I saw the news coverage in our today's newspaper were mostly related only to two developments. First is the Air India crash which happened in Ahmedabad, and second is the conflict between Israel and Iran. Now we have covered the important aspects about these two topics on our yesterday's discussion. We dealt in detail about what is a black box, how is it essential in aircraft accidents investigation, and we also dealt in detail what are the reasons behind Israel and Iran war. I'm planning to do a separate video today at 9 p.m. where I will add on the reasons why Israel attacked Iran and what are the key sites of Iran that has been targeted by Israel, right? So please watch that video. That will go live at 9 p.m. today, but we'll discuss other important articles which I've picked up from mostly website as well as the Indian Express newspaper. We'll start off our today's discussion by understanding what is Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. Why are we discussing this Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana? Because 9 years have passed since the government introduced this scheme, and this scheme essentially provides free LPG connection to people who did not have LPG back then. Give me a second. Okay. Now, PM Ujjwala Yojana deals with LPG connection. So, we are going to understand in great detail key features of the scheme, and we are also trying to analyze how has this scheme being impactful, especially on the lives of women, right? So, this scheme, and it is relevant from GS paper 1, that is women in Indian society. It is relevant from GS paper 2, that is government schemes for marginalized section, that is women, and its implementation. Similarly, it is also important from GS paper 3 because it provides essential infrastructural services, particularly gas connection to households, right? So therefore, we are going to understand this scheme in great detail in our today's discussion. In the second article, we'll be covering about the World Economic Forum's Gender Gap Index, which has been published for the year 2025, and what are the factors that are taken into account while publishing this kind of gender index. We'll also try to understand what is India's stand in this index, how it compares to its neighboring countries, and who are the countries who have been placed in the top tier in this particular gender gap index. So this article is relevant again from GS paper 1 because it deals with the issue of gender, right? In the third article, which is a left out article from yesterday, we'll be covering in great detail about a species that is in news, that is Eurasian otter. Eurasian otter has been discovered after a long time in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So in that perspective, we'll try to understand what this species is all about, what are its key characteristics, particularly habits, habitats, as well as protection status. So that is how we are going to cover Eurasian otter. In the next article, we'll be covering great detail about a Sant known as Kabirdas, who was a very prominent Bhakti saint that existed during the medieval part of India. His impact on Indian society, his impact on Indian art and culture has been quite significant. So we'll try to understand his contributions in Indian history, and this article is relevant from GS paper 1 perspective, right? Because it deals essentially with part of Indian culture and heritage. In the last article, we'll understand what is CROPIC. CROPIC is basically an abbreviation, that is an app that has been created by government so as to help assay the levels of crop, particularly for the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, right? So all of this article, which is relevant from this article is relevant from agricultural perspective, that is the relevant paper here is GS paper 3. So we are going to understand what is CROPIC first, and then we'll try to understand how it fits in the larger scheme of things, that is the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Okay, so these are the 5 articles that we'll cover in our today's discussion. And you understand, as usual, these notes will be available on the Telegram channel. This is called as ATS Live, so you can go to this Telegram channel, subscribe to it if you still haven't, and download the notes. If you still aren't unable to find the channel now, this is the QR code that you need to scan. Okay, so let us begin our today's discussion. Kanchan, Sipra, Rishi, Sojanya, Yashi, Divyansh, Rishi, good evening to you all. Yashpal Jadeja, good evening. Am I audible perfectly? Is there any issue? Please let me know in the comments. Now this article we are going to discuss, it talks about Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, and as you can see from the screenshot, it obviously says that 9 years have happened since this scheme Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana has been introduced, and because of this 10.33 crore beneficiaries have been added who have been provided with LPG connection through this scheme. So that is why we are going to discuss whenever there is an important milestone about a scheme, that automatically becomes important from our exams perspective. And as I have told you, this article relates with GS paper 1, GS paper 2, GS paper 3. So that is why it is relevant from our exams perspective. First, let us understand the context of our today's discussion. Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, it has completed 9 years on May the 1st, marking it a major step in providing clean cooking fuel to poor households across India. Before the introduction of this scheme, the number of consumers using LPG in India, they were 14.52 crores, right? Now this has increased to roughly 2.5 times, that is, or not 2.5 times, basically 2.2, 2.3 times to 32.94 crore, essentially 33 crore beneficiaries. And it includes 10.33 crore beneficiaries who are newly added after the scheme, right? So these are the number of consumers of LPG, and most important figure is 10.33 crore who have been or who are the beneficiaries of this scheme, right? So let us understand the scheme in great detail. The scheme was launched by Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, and the intention of bringing the scheme by the government was to provide clean cooking fuel, that is LPG connections, to rural and deprived households. And the intention of providing them with free LPG connection was to reduce death that are caused by use of unclean cooking fuels like wood, like biomass. So whenever women use that fuel to cook the food, it relates to, or it leads to, emission of large amount of smoke, which is eventually inhaled by the women, and it leads to many health problems. Similarly, while providing clean cooking fuel, it will also prevent respiratory illnesses in children due to indoor air pollution, right? So that is why it is quite important from our exams perspective that it aims to uplift the women, not just improving their quality of life, but also preventing certain kind of respiratory illnesses that may have happened in case they were using these kind of unclean cooking fuel, right? So this is why these schemes were introduced. Now let us understand what are the benefits that are provided under the scheme. Now this scheme provides a cash assistance for the beneficiaries whenever they opt for PM Ujjwala Yojana connection. That is, they are getting a benefit of rupees 1600 rupees, that is for a connection if they opt for a 14.2 kg cylinder. If they opt for a smaller cylinder, that is of 5 kg, they will be getting a financial benefit of 1150 rupees. Now this cash assistance of 1600 rupees, it essentially covers many kind of deposits that a normal consumer needs to make. So suppose if you and I, we go to a gas agency and demand for an LPG connection, the gas agency will ask you to submit 1600 rupees, and these are there for security deposit of cylinders, for pressure regulator, for LPG hose, domestic gas consumer card, and inspection installation charges. So basically all these charges that you are required to pay for your LPG connection, that is refunded back to the beneficiaries under PM Ujjwala Yojana in form of cash assistance by the government, right? So this is the kind of benefit or monetary benefit government is providing, basically subsidizing that they take the LPG connection and it does not set them back by any kind of money, right? Now let us understand additional benefits are also being provided right now. All PMUY beneficiaries, they will be provided with first LPG refill free of cost. Similarly, they will also get a stove free of cost, right? And this is along with their deposit free connection by the oil marketing companies. So oil marketing companies who sell gas like Indian Oil, like BPCL, like HPCL, they will be providing these benefits in addition to the 1600 rupees that we have already discussed. And a target subsidy of 300 rupees per 14.2 kilogram of cylinder will be also provided to the beneficiaries from 2024 up to 12 refills per year. So if they decide to buy the cylinders again, cylinders will also be subsidized by the government, a tune of 300 rupees per cylinder, and the maximum of subsidized cylinder that they can buy in a year is 1200 rupees. So 12 into 300, that is 3600 rupees additional benefits is also provided by the government in form of subsidy. So these are the benefits. I told you 1600 rupees of cash benefit. These first LPG refill free of cost, stove, this will be provided free of cost, and also if they decide to further buy the LPG cylinders, they will be subsidized, that is 300 rupees per LPG cylinder. At max 12 cylinders they can get in a year, right? Now let us understand who are the people who are eligible to get benefits under this scheme. Can you and I go and demand for LPG connection? The answer is no. People who belong to SCs and ST households who do not have an active gas connection, people belonging to most backward classes, people who are beneficiaries under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Antyodaya Anna Yojana. So these beneficiaries also, they are eligible to get connections under Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, right? So this is how government tries to converge the benefits of this scheme. If the beneficiary goes to get a house made under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, that house will also come with a toilet, which the support for which will be provided under Swachh Bharat. The kitchen of that house will come with a gas connection, the support for which will be provided by Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. So that is how government tries to converge all the benefits of this scheme. Similarly, Antyodaya Anna Yojana also, these are the people who are the most backward economically. They are getting subsidized food from the government. So to cook the food, they are also getting LPG connection, right? Similarly, people who have been tea garden tribes or ex-tea garden tribes, forest dwellers, as well as people who are residing in islands and river islands, these people are also eligible to get beneficiaries. Similarly, if any poor household is remaining and they do not fulfill these kind of criterias, they need to submit a declaration to the government saying that we are indeed needy for the LPG connection, so please provide us LPG connection, and government will also provide an LPG connection to them. So in total, these are the people who are eligible to get benefits under the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. Now, let us understand how this scheme has impacted the lives of rural households, particularly women. First, you see, the most important benefit is the health improvement. Obviously, when a woman is cooking food using unclean sources of fuel like biomass, like dry cow dung, or even the wood when they are using to cook the food, it leads to emissions of large amount of smoke, and eventually people living in the household, the women themselves, they inhale that smoke, and it leads to deterioration of health. It leads to your lung getting bad, right? So similarly, it improves your health. To LPG, it reduces indoor air pollution, it improves respiratory health, particularly among women and children, because these are the people who live in household for a larger duration of time. Also, whenever you are cooking food on LPG, the person who are cooking food on LPG have a greater control as compared to person if you are cooking on a normal stove, right? So when you are using when you are cooking the food using wood, the amount of control in the flame that you can change the flame, it is quite less. Wherever LPG, it provides you greater control of the flame. So you can cook the food quickly, you can cook the food which is much more tasty. That is why it will lead to better nutrition for the whole family. Similarly, it will also reduce the work that the woman needs to put in order to source the fuel. They need to go to the forest to collect the wood, they need to go to the market to buy biomass, right? So all of that physical work will also not be needed because women has an LPG cylinder right there at the home. She can just turn on the regulator and the fire would start. So LPG, it has also reduced the time and effort that is spent by women in collecting traditional fuels, allowing the women to use their free time in multiple spheres of life. So when women have better health, they have better nutrition, they have more amount of time with them, they can use it for economic purposes, they can get employed somewhere, they can do part-time jobs, right? So not just it will lead to women empowerment, but it will also lead to more income for the women as well as household, right? So that is how it will lead to multiple benefits, primarily to women and indirectly even to the household. Similarly, in a way, it also conserves our environment. Why? It reduces the dependency on wood and biomass, which further leads to more emissions of greenhouse gases, and it has also contributed significantly to deforestation. So where is wood coming if you are requiring the wood for cooking fuel? It is coming from the forest, which essentially means you're cutting down the trees to use the wood, right? So it will prevent cutting down of trees. So these are the benefits in total that are intended or that will be done through PM Ujjwala Yojana. But these benefits, they do not mean that there won't be any kind of what is called as drawback, right? Now there are significant drawbacks also. First, that we have witnessed that there is a low adoption of LPG for regular use. Why? Because LPG comes at a significant cost, whereas wood, which some are sourcing from the wooden areas or from the forest areas, they essentially are free or are of very low cost, right? So therefore people, they get the LPG connections installed at their homes, but when it comes to buying the next cylinder, people are usually abstaining from buying the new cylinders. So while PMUY has successfully increased LPG connection, many rural households, they still are continuing using mixed fuel cooking. First, due to high cost of LPG refills. That is why I told you government has subsidized the LPG connections or even the LPG cylinders. Similarly, some people, they have an inherent preference from eating the food that has been cooked using traditional methods because they say taste acha raha hai, right? So they don't take into account that women is facing so much hardship just to cook the food for you, and you are putting her into further danger by subjecting her to the smoke that is emitting out of those traditional fuel hubs, right? Similarly, there is a lack of awareness even among people about the indoor pollution. How many people you think are aware about indoor pollution? Many people are aware about outdoor pollution, right? But similar way of awareness is not present in indoor pollution. So these are the challenges, particularly behavioral challenges, that prevent people from continuing the use of LPG connections. Similarly, another problem is that there is a no significant increase in women's workforce participation. I told you there will be a significant savings in time for women. So therefore, using that time, women can put their efforts into economically more productive work. But the problem is the time saving is basically 30 to 40 minutes every day. So when you are saving 30 to 40 minutes every day, how will you be able to participate in your work? Similarly, in rural areas particularly, there are very limited work opportunities for women. So even if women have free time now with them, they are not able to work properly because there is no opportunity. Also, in terms of value of time, women's value of time, as you can understand, socially has been recognized not so well. People think that women have much more thing to do at their households, but when it comes to work, they don't have so much work. That is why estimated value of time saved is only 5% of rural household income. So whenever they are able to save time, even the husbands of their household, they are not willing to send them for economic work. And even if you have installed the LPG connection, the decision power ultimately in most cases rests with men in the rural household. That is why when men have to pay for LPG cylinder, they'll say that why do you need LPG cylinder when you can cook food using traditional methods, right? But women, since they do not have economic power with them, they won't be able to have a say that please order a new LPG cylinder. That is why low LPG refill rates, that is on an average, there are only 3 refills per year as compared to 12 refills per year that is allowed from government side. It is not being fulfilled because the decision of whether to purchase a new cylinder rests with men and not with women, right? So what we can do in order to improve the scheme, right? First, we can enhance the LPG affordability. For that, government can increase the subsidies or even provide a lower cost refill options that you don't need to buy a new cylinder. You can take your own cylinder and get it refilled at a registered station so that it leads to saving in income. Also, you can raise awareness particularly about the indoor pollution level, because as you can understand, people are ignorant about indoor pollution level, so they are not in a way trying to eliminate the use of traditional methods. Also, you need to encourage women's employment because you're providing her with time, but you also have to provide her with works. Similarly, these work needs to be flexible. These needs to be home-based work so that women, while staying in the home, they can contribute economically to our development story. Similarly, you also have to increase women's decision-making power. You can do so by providing subsidies directly into the bank accounts of women, and therefore women will be eligible themselves to buy the cylinders, not that they will have to depend on their husbands, they'll not have to depend on their brothers or fathers to order a new cylinder, right? So this is what we can do in order to improve the scheme. Now this is a MCQ that I've curated. Please let me know the correct answer. Jaisha Bajaj, good evening. Namaste Dakkan Babu, Sipra, no issue, okay. Govind sir, there is no word for your daily hard work. Thank you, Govind. Yes, the correct answer is C. Both of these statements are correct. An adult woman belonging to TNXT Garden tribe is eligible to be the beneficiary of the scheme. All PMUY beneficiaries are provided first LPG refill and stove free of cost. This is a correct statement. Now, basically, students have a tendency to see an absolute statement and mark it incorrectly. But please understand that UPSC is smarter than you guys. They will absolutely make a absolute statement and put it right just the way I've done it today, right? So please pay close attention. Now this is the question that you can write after the session ends. Critically analyze the impact of PMUY on women's empowerment and household energy consumption in rural areas. What are the key challenges in ensuring sustained LPG adoption and how can they be addressed? So basically I've provided you all the material here. Please use your answer writing skills. Answer writing skill is very important if you have to get selected in any of the services that the UPSC offers, right? Now moving to the second article, this I have taken from the Indian Express website because these were not covered in the newspaper. I saw other news sources like the Hindu, even Times of India covered this, but strangely Indian Express in its newspaper did not. So I have taken it from the website, need not worry. We are going to discuss about the WEF Gender Gap Index of 2025. Now this Gender Gap Index of 2025 was released recently and this is published by World Economic Forum. Now the latest report that released this index of 2025, it ranks India 131st out of 148 countries and India slipped 2 positions. Earlier it was at 129th rank. And in terms of parity, India has 64.1% parity in terms of gender, which means India is among the lowest parity country in entire of South Asia. So we'll try to understand about this index, how is India's position comparable to its neighboring countries and which are top countries, right? Now, Global Gender Gap Index, it evaluates countries based on gender-based disparities and these are monitored across 4 different areas. First is economic participation and opportunity. Second is educational attainment. Third is health and survival and fourth is political empowerment. So basically these 2 are social indicators. This is an economic indicator and this is a political indicator. So all these 3 areas, political, economy and social, are covered under Gender Gap Index and this index measures how wide or how narrow is the gender gap are in these dimensions and it monitors each country's progress towards achieving gender equality over time. So please remember these 4 factors, these are very important. Now let us understand who are the top countries in this year's list. This list is also topped by Iceland, which has been on the top for 16 years combined, followed by Finland, Norway, UK and New Zealand. So out of 5 countries, top 3 countries are Nordic countries, right? What are Nordic countries? I've already told you in our previous discussion. Do let me know who all are the countries which are called as Nordic countries. Similarly, global gender gap, it close to 68.8%, strongest progress since pandemic. And at the correct rate, it is expected that the full parity will take 123 years. Now, the women, they make up 41.2% of the workforce, but when it comes to in leadership roles, they only represent 28.8% in leadership roles. So this highlights that although you're increasing the participation of women in work, but you are not ensuring their representation when it comes to leadership roles, right? Yes, Dakkan Babu. The countries of Nordic are finds countries, right? And what are Scandinavian countries? Yes, NDS is a Scandinavian country. So good that you remember. So Finland, Iceland, Norway, all these 3 are Nordic countries and these are top 3 countries in the global gender gap. Now let us understand how has India performed in this particular index. Now I told you there are 4 dimensions where the index monitors. First is economic participation and opportunity. Now it says that India's score here increased by 0.9% and female earned income parity improved from 28.6 to 29.6. Now you don't need to remember these factors, just understand it from our today's perspective. But India's female labor force participation rate, it remains stagnant at 45.9%. More developed countries, there were higher female work participation rate. When it comes to education, this is the area where Indian women has performed quite well. Indian women has achieved a near parity score of 97.1%. That is, for every 100 educated men, there are 97.1 educated women. Similarly, it is driven by improved female literacy and higher involvement in tertiary education, right? So these are the factors that have improved India's score in this particular indicator. India lagged significantly in economic participation and opportunity. Similarly, India's improvement in health and survival has also quite been prominent, improved parity in sex ratio at birth and healthy life expectancy, but there has been overall decline in life expectancy which offsets meaningful gains. Similarly, in terms of political participation and empowerment also, Indian women lag behind. First, because if you see parliamentary representation of women in 18th Lok Sabha, it has reduced from 17th Lok Sabha. In 17th Lok Sabha, it was 14.7%, whereas now in 18th, it is just 13.8%. Similarly, women in ministerial roles or in ministerial positions, they have dropped. Earlier, it was 6.5%, now it is 5.6%. And this marks a second continuous year of decline, far from its peak, which was there in 2019, right? So, except on the parameter of educational attainment, India's score in economic participation and opportunity, in health and survival and political empowerment, or Indian women's score have reduced. Understand? You don't need to remember such kind of details. This is something that you can quote in your exams perspective. Suppose if a question comes on women reservation, why is women reservation essential in legislature? You can quote these instances. Similarly, if a question appears on women labor force participation, you can quote these kind of figures, right? So this is only what is essential. Now let us understand how is India compared in terms of its neighboring countries. Now, in the neighboring countries, it was Bangladesh who has performed quite well. It ranks 24th globally, whereas Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, all these of our neighboring countries, they performed well as compared to India. Only Maldives and Pakistan have ranked lower than India, right? Now, similarly, we need to understand about this particular organization that publishes this report, that is the World Economic Forum. Now, it is a international organization that is envisaging a public-private cooperation, and it engages not just political class of the countries but also businessmen, cultural and other leaders of the society, and they want to shape global, regional and industry agendas. Now, this body, you can understand, it has an annual summit in the Davos of Switzerland, but it is not headquartered there. It is headquartered although in Switzerland, but in the city of Geneva. Now, it was founded in 1971 by Klaus Schwab, who originally was known, or it was, the WEF originally was known as the European Management Forum, right? Now, it promotes the idea of stakeholder capitalism. What is stakeholder capitalism? It essentially means that companies do not have to optimize short-term profits for shareholders. What the companies rather needs to do in stakeholder capitalism, that they need to seek long-term value creation by taking into account needs of all the stakeholders, not just employees or shareholders, but the broader community as well, right? So this is what stakeholder capitalism promotes, capitalism with good intention, right? Now, the evolution of this body, that events in 1973 saw annual meeting expanding its focus earlier from management to economic and social issues. What happened in 1973? I've earlier told you, oil crisis happened in the West because of the restrictions of supply of crude oil by OPEC to these countries, right? Similarly, annual meeting in Davos, it brings together around 3,000 participants, including paying members and select invitees, which invites business leaders, political leaders, economists, celebrities, and other people, and they discuss issues belonging and stretching over 500 sessions. So, annual meeting happens at Davos, but it is headquartered in Geneva. Please remember it. Now, the funding of WEF, it primarily supported by partnering corporations. Typically, the annual turnover exceeds about $5 billion. So, in terms of money, this is quite adequately funded private body. It is not an intergovernmental organization, right? Now, several milestones have also been achieved by WEF, like ensuring Korean diplomacy. The first ministerial level between North and South Korea after the war ended between these two happened in Davos. It promoted, or it played a key role in German unification after the end of Cold War. It brought South Africa out of global isolation. Similarly, it also played a key role in genesis of G20. WEF emphasized the need to involve major developing countries. Therefore, the concept of G20 emerged, which eventually led to a body after the global financial crisis of 2008, right? Now, these are the important reports that have been published or that are published by WEF. Please take a screenshot. I'll get out of your way. This is very important. Please remember it. Questions have appeared on these topics, right? What you need to understand, Global Information Technology Report is submitted by WEF along with INSEAD and Cornell University. Others are exclusively published by WEF, right? So, Energy Transition Index, Global Competitive Report, Global Enabling Trade Report, Global Travel and Tourism Report, these are important. Also Global Risk Report. Now, why I was saying it is important, because see the question of 2017. Bharti Traders PDF after the session ends, okay? Where are you from, Bharti Trader? Yes, World Economic Forum. Next question, 2019. Yes, Rishi, Sri, Dhakkan Babu, Yashi, Dhananjoy, Jaisha, Plathian, Kanchan, all of you correct. Next question, Omkar, Plathian, Rishi, Kanchan, Dhakkan Babu, Jaisha, yes, World Economic Forum. That is why I told you these list of reports are very important, right? Now let's see if you are able to solve this practice question that I have made. See, first is incorrect. It is not a United Nations body. It is not also headquartered in Davos. I have told you multiple times it is headquartered in Geneva. Third statement is correct because it submits or it publishes both of these reports. So only third option, B, is right? So all of you are correct. Dhakkan Babu, Sarang, Jaisha, Omkar, Dhananjoy, Rishi, Yashi, Kanchan, all of you are right. Now, how the global world order works, does it just include the important countries or does it include important multilateral bodies also? We discuss them in great detail in our IR lectures, which happen in GS Foundation P2I Pratigya batches. Now, the admissions for these batches, they will close tomorrow, that is 15th of June. So, to take admissions in these batches, what you need to do, go to our website, apply the code ATS Live and get the admission at this particular rate. How to apply the code? Let me demonstrate it to you, right? Just search StudyIQ on the Google and you'll find the site, click on this site, okay? Once you click on the site, you'll need to log in by using your mobile number. Once you are done logging in, go to this option, select all languages and then click English. Why am I saying English? Because I understand most of you are watching this video might not be very comfortable in Hindi. Okay, so for that, we are providing exclusively English batches, right? Now, this Pratigya evening batch, it is going on right now. Admissions, the sale and also the admissions, it will close on 15th of June. So, to take admission, click on this tile right now. Now, as soon as you click on this tile, it shows 35,999 is the course fees, but I'll tell you a way where you can get admissions even on a discounted rate, right? What you need to do, click on buy now. Once you click on buy now, on your right, there's an option to add promo code. Click on add promo code, go and write ATS Live here. As soon as you're done ATS live, click on apply. When you click on apply, see, the discount of 7,000 rupees is applied and the diamond course is now at 28,999. Platinum is at 23,999. Gold is at 13,999. So you can obviously take admissions in either of these three batches. But if you ask my opinion, I'll tell you to opt for diamond batches because there are multiple benefits like Mains Residential Program, Prelims Residential Program, Selection Box, Margdarshan, Scholarship. Suppose if you clear Prelims, entire of your course fees that you have paid will be refunded if you are a diamond batch student, right? Similarly, if you clear prelims examination, you will also be brought to Delhi and your expenses, be it food, studies, lodging, everything will be taken care of by StudyIQ. So all of these benefits are exclusively available in diamond batches. So please make sure to take your admissions and do not forget to apply the code ATS Live. Why? Because it saves 7,000 of your rupees, right? Now moving to our next article that we have left out yesterday, it is Eurasian otter, right? Now this article appeared, I guess, 2 days before in the front page of the Indian Express newspaper. Now this is the species we are going to talk about, the Eurasian otter. Why are we talking about this species? Because the Eurasian otter, who was long thought to be extinct in the region of Kashmir Valley, was sighted again after 30 years, marking a significant moment for the local biodiversity. As I've already told you, whenever a species is news, we cover three important aspects about that species, that is habits, habitats, as well as protection status. So we'll make no exception while covering Eurasian otter as well. Now Eurasian otter, sometimes it is also called as European otter, common otter, or even old world otter. Now it is a semi-aquatic carnivorous mammal which is native to Eurasia, hence the name. It is locally known in Kashmir as wooder, who was once a common part of the valley's aquatic system, right? Now, in terms of habits, it is among the widest ranging mammals in the Palearctic region, which is found across Europe, Middle East, Northern Africa, Russia, China, and other parts of India. In India, they are found in northern areas, northeastern areas, southern regions, especially in the regions that has cold hill streams as well as mountain rivers. Similarly, these species, they inhabit a variety of freshwater and coastal ecosystems. So are they freshwater species or are they exclusively a freshwater species? The answer would be incorrect, right? Similarly, they are found in rivers, streams, lakes, marshes, swamp forests, as well as estuaries. Now, they are tolerant of both highland and lowland water bodies regardless of their size and origin. So these are the known habits or habitats of the Eurasian otter species. Now let us understand their key behavior and adaptation which are a part of habits of this species, right? Now first of all, socially they are elusive and solitary by nature. They have brown fur with pale underside, long flexible body, webbed feet and thick tail which allows them to swim in waters as well. Similarly, they have some aquatic adaptations also. They can close their ears and nostrils while they are underwater and their dense fur traps air for insulation. Also, they have a very highly developed sight, smells and hearing. So when it comes to ears, eyes as well as nose, they have a quite a developed sensory functions of all these three organs, right? So these are the key adaptations and behavior of the Eurasian otter species which forms a part of habits of these species, right? Now let us understand their protection status. Now they are subjected to threat because of water pollution and illegal hunting. Especially pesticides and industrial effluents, whenever they are drained into water, they are detrimental to the health of Eurasian otter. And also, they are quite sorted in the grey markets for their invaluable fur. That is why they have been illegally hunted as well. So that is why they are being protected under Schedule 2 of Wildlife Protection Act. Although this protection status is somewhat lesser than tigers and lions, but still it allows them to be protected by the governments. So also, they are classified as near threatened in the IUCN Red List, whereas CITES, it categorizes them as Appendix 1 species, which means international trade in these species is highly restricted. Understood? Now let's see if you are able to solve this question. आंसर दो भाई. Well, they are listed under Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act and thus accorded highest legal protection in India. Incorrect. They have a wide distribution across the Palearctic region, including Europe, parts of Asia and North Africa. Correct. In India, they are primarily restricted to lowland rivers and coastal estuaries in the western region. This is incorrect. Only 2 is right. Again, option B is the right answer. Yes, all of you are right. Not Yashpal. Yashpal, option B is right. First and second are incorrect. They are listed under Schedule 2, not Schedule 1. Okay. Now moving to the next article, it talks about Sant Kabirdas Jayanti. So Sant Kabirdas Jayanti, it was celebrated for the 648th time, right? So that is why we are going to discuss Sant Kabirdas. This is the figure that we are going to discuss. Now the context of our today's discussion is that Sant Kabirdas Jayanti, which is celebrated on June the 11th, it marked a 648th birth anniversary, which honors the legacy of spiritual unity as well as social reform in India, right? Now, who was Sant Kabirdas? Sant Kabirdas was a 15th century mystic poet who also belonged to a tradition of Bhakti movement, and he was also a social reformer, and he was born in the city of Banaras in Uttar Pradesh. He was born in 1940 and he is believed to be raised by a Muslim weaver family. So, when a person born in Hindu family but raised by a Muslim family, he became a symbol of religious harmony and spiritual universally in India. Now, his notable works, it includes Bijak, Sakhni Granth, Kabir Granthavali, Anurag Sagar, as well as several of his verses has also been included in the supreme text of the Sikh religion, that is the Guru Granth Sahib, right? So that is why he had played a key role in ensuring religious uniformity, universal harmony, as well as spirituality in India. Now, Kabir's philosophy, first of all, it included that he wanted people to understand that gods are within themselves. So that is why he emphasized introspection among people rather than promoting rituals. Similarly, he said that God resided among the people itself. So that is why they are not required to go to temples or not conduct idol worship. Similarly, he also promoted the idea of Nirgun Bhakti, which advocated devotion to a formless, a universal divine and not to personal gods. That is why he was also called as Nirgun Brahman, okay? Also, he rejected rituals, he opposed religious orthodoxy, superstition, as well as caste-based discrimination, and he promoted ethical living over dogma. He stressed humility, service as a seva, simplicity, and he gave a concept of Nam Samaran, which is chanting the name of divine, which basically was also adopted in the Guru Granth Sahib in terms of Nam Japna, right? Similarly, equality and non-violence was also promoted by him. He championed social justice, non-violence, which was also promoted by historical figures like Mahatma Gandhi, as well as ensuring human dignity for all. So these were his important philosophies. Now let us understand how his work influenced other people. His work, written primarily in languages or local languages like Braj Bhasha and Awadhi dialect, it significantly influenced Indian literature. It also ensured that common people were able to read his work as against the most religious scriptures. Similarly, he also led to, or his work also led to, development of Hindi language. You may have heard the word Kabir ke dohe, right? It belonged to him only. He also brought a several sect known as Kabir Panth, which was a devotional sect founded on his teaching, promoting equality, simplicity in spiritual practice. And their religious book was also his book known as Bijak, right? He also had a profound impact on Sikhism, highly revered by Guru Nanak, and many of Kabir's hymns, they were also included in Guru Granth Sahib, as I've already told you. Similarly, he inspired reform movement. He influenced Dadu Panthis and other groups who resisted casteism and ritualism. And he had a universal appeal. He was respected equally by both Hindus and Muslims, and he remained a unifying spiritual figure across India even till today, right? So that is why his influence is quite high in Indian society, particularly ensuring social reform, eradicating ill practices like caste-based discrimination, okay? Well, he was a prominent Nirgun Bhakti saint who rejected ritualism and caste distinction. This is correct. His teachings are primarily recorded in Baijak, a scripture associated with Sikh tradition. Now, this statement is incorrect. Although his teachings are recorded in Baijak, but it is not a scripture for strict tradition. It is a scripture for this sect, I told you, right? Kabir Panth. Whereas the scripture for strict tradition is called as Guru Granth Sahib. Understood? So second statement is incorrect, first one is right. Therefore, option A is your right answer, not C. Okay? Now moving to the last article of the day, this also I have taken from the website, because if you go and look at the newspaper now, the articles mostly we have done and other articles do not closely relate to our purpose of preparation, right? Okay. Now, this is the next topic that we are going to discuss about CROPIC. So, what is CROPIC and why are we discussing it? Let's find out. Now, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, it launched CROPIC, which is an initiative to collect crop data through field photos, and using these photos that has been collected by the app, they will analyze it using AI-based model, and this is what CROPIC is. So let us understand more details about CROPIC. Now, CROPIC basically is an abbreviation standing for Collection of Real-Time Observations and Photo of Crops, and it was launched under Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, right? What is Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana? I will tell you, need not worry. Now, this CROPIC, it aims to monitor crop health and stress and automate crop loss assessment using AI and computer vision, which is used for providing benefits under Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Now, photo here are captured 4 to 5 times during the crop's life cycle, and it helps the app to assess the health and detect mid-season losses if it happens in the crop. Similarly, it uses computer vision and photo analytic models to analyze the image to understand the health of the crop, right? Now, the initial rollout of this CROPIC initiative will begin from this year Kharif season as well as next year Rabi. Now, photos will be crowdsourced directly from farmers. So, basically, farmers will take the photos of their crops using the CROPIC app of the government, which has been developed by Ministry of Agriculture. And once these photos have been uploaded on the app, a cloud-based AI platform will analyze the image and extract data like what is the crop type, what is the growth stage of the crop, and whether there is a damage and what is the damage if there is a damage, right? Similarly, it will also be used by officials during insurance claim verification under the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Now, other benefits that a web-based dashboard will also be created, which will use data visualization and decision-making tools. It will be implemented at least 50 districts per season across varied agroclimatic zones, and it will focus on 3 major notified crops that are covered under the Fasal Bima Yojana in each district. And this initiative will be financed through Fund for Innovation and Technology under the PM Fasal Bima Yojana. So you must be wondering, why are they using technology to assay claims under the PM Fasal Bima Yojana? So let us also understand PM Fasal Bima Yojana. It is a comprehensive crop insurance coverage of Government of India, which ensures coverage from pre-sowing to post-harvest period, and it is provided to farmers in the event of failure of any of the notified crop as a result of natural calamities, pest infestation or disease infestation. So farmers who are opting the scheme, in case their crop goes bad, they will receive the remuneration from the insurance companies, and by nature this is a demand driven scheme and also voluntary for states as well as farmers. Earlier it was mandatory for farmers who have taken the loan, but now it is not mandatory, it is voluntary. Now, the agency who is implementing this scheme is Department of Agriculture, Cooperation and Farmers Welfare, coming under the Ministry of Farmers or Ministry of Farmers and Health, and it is also been implemented on ground by the respective state governments. Now, the coverage, what kind of losses are covered under the scheme? It is quite wide. I told you, from pre-sowing to post-harvest, all of this is covered. So, if you are not able to sow your crops, this is also a problem and you will be compensated for it. Yield losses due to non-preventable risks like drought, dry spell, flood, inundation, pest attack, disease attack, all of this is covered. Similarly, post-harvest losses, suppose if you harvest or cultivate your crops and store them in a storage, and that storage gets burned out or that storage leads to pest infestation, your insurance amount will also be provided, right? So this also covers post-harvest loss and local calamities also. States may also consider providing add-on coverage for crop losses due to attack by wild animals. So this is basically at the discretion of the state government, right? And risks, some risks are not covered, like losses arising out of war or nuclear risk, malicious damage or other preventable shall be excluded from the purview. So basically it provides a wider coverage to the farmers, including pre-harvest losses, post-harvest losses, and obviously losses during the harvest cycle or during the farmer cycle will also be compensated. Now, who all farmers are beneficiaries under the scheme? Now, it is available to all farmers in India, including sharecroppers and tenant farmers. Similarly, in 2020, the scheme was made optional for all farmers, including farmers who have taken the loans. Earlier, farmers who had taken the loans, it was mandatory on them. So, it was seen not as a good measure. So, that is why now it is voluntary for any farmer in India. And the coverage of crops, it includes food crops like cereals, millets, pulses, oil seeds, commercial crops, as well as horticultural crops as well, right? Now, the big part of the big question you must be asking, who will fund the scheme? This is the next tile we are going to discuss. Now you understand, to offer any insurance scheme, the insurance companies require you to pay premium, right? So suppose if you want yourself a health coverage of 20 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees, you'll be needing to pay a premium of 15 to 20,000 rupees every year, right? So similarly, when farmers enroll for such health farming insurance scheme also, they also need to pay premium to the health farming insurance companies, right? But here, farmers needs to pay only one very small amount of premium. That is, for Kharif crop, they are required to pay only 2% of the premium. For Rabi crop, they are only required to pay 1.5% of the premium. Whereas for commercial horticultural crops, they are only required to pay 5% of the premium. Whereas the rest premium that the farmers are not paying, they will be paid equally by the central and the state government. Understood? So this is how government of India and government of the state, they are also subsidizing the premium that will be paid by farmers to opt for these crop insurance schemes. Understood? Malicious damage, matlab if I had a fight with another farmer and I go and destroy his crop, so that won't be covered. Okay? Malicious intention, with wrong intention. Or suppose I leave my cows and buffaloes on his farm, right? So this is an intentional act by me, so that won't be covered. Now, another notable features of this scheme is that compulsory use of at least 0.5% of the gross premium collected by insurance companies, they need to be done for information, education, and communication activities. There needs to be intensive use of technology, that is to assay the damage. The companies needs to use drone, they needs to use app like CROPIC that I've already told you. It gives freedom to the states to choose risk cover and requirements as per their own needs. So that is why this is quite a flexible scheme. The most important part is that farmers need to pay only small amount of premium, 2% for Kharif crop, 1.5% for Rabi crop, and 5% for horticultural crop. You'll remember it? Any doubts? Now let's see if you are able to solve this question quickly. Well, under this scheme, farmers will have to pay a uniform premium of 2% for any crop that they cultivate in any season of the year. This is incorrect. I told you, premium, only a part of it is paid, but it depends on what kind of crops you are growing. It is different for Kharif, Rabi and horticultural crop. And this scheme covers post-harvest losses arising out of cyclones and unseasonable rain. This is correct. I told you, if it happens during the disaster, any disaster or a natural disaster which is cyclone and unseasonal rain, those kind of post-harvest losses are covered, right? So option B is the right answer, because first isn't correct, second one is correct. Understood? So this brings an end to our today's discussion. We'll see each other again on Monday, and you can download the notes after a few minutes on ATS Live. Okay? So I'll see you again on